I was under the hood of my Ford when I heard my wife Dana's voice drift through the kitchen window like poison through clean air. 23 years of marriage, and I could still pick out her laugh from a crowded room, though lately it carried a different tune. "He's so clueless, darling," she was saying into her phone, voice dripping with the kind of contempt usually reserved for the worst nuisances. "I could parade you naked through our living room and Harold would just ask if you want coffee." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I froze, wrench in hand, oil staining my fingers black. The garage suddenly felt smaller, the February cold biting deeper through my flannel. "Owen, you're terrible," she giggled. Owen, her boss at Midwest Logistics Solutions. The same Owen Frazer who'd been calling our house at odd hours, claiming urgent HR matters that couldn't wait until morning. My name is Harold Vance. I'm 50 years old, I supervise the loading dock at Hartwell Manufacturing, and apparently I'm the last person in Millbrook to know my wife is screwing her boss. The irony wasn't lost on me. For months, I'd been the guy everyone pitied. Harold, whose wife works late every night. Harold, who eats dinner alone while Dana attends mandatory corporate retreats every other weekend. Harold, the fool. But here's what Dana didn't know about her clueless husband. I'd been listening to her phone calls for weeks. "When are you going to leave him?" Owen's voice crackled through the speaker. I'd heard this conversation before, variations of it, each one driving another nail into the coffin of our marriage. "Soon," Dana replied. "I just need to time it right. Harold's got the house, the retirement accounts. I'm not walking away empty-handed." I set down the wrench with the careful precision of a man who just discovered his life was a lie. The Ford's engine ticked in the cold, metal contracting like my chest. 23 years. Our daughter Mickey's college tuition, the mortgage we'd sweated over, the dreams we'd built together, brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. All of it, apparently, had been one long joke, and I was the punchline. "The office party's tomorrow night," Dana continued. "You should come. Harold never shows up to those things anyway." That's where she was wrong. I'd skipped exactly one office party in 5 years, when I had food poisoning from that sketchy diner on Route 9. But Dana had stopped inviting me months ago, claiming they were boring work functions I wouldn't enjoy. Now I understood why. I closed the hood of the Ford with a satisfying slam that echoed through the garage. Tomorrow night, I'd be making an appearance at Midwest Logistics Solutions. Time to remind my wife and her boss that Harold Vance might be many things, but clueless wasn't one of them. The next evening, I stood in front of our bedroom mirror, adjusting my tie. Dana was in the bathroom, applying makeup with the kind of care usually reserved for first dates or job interviews. "You look nice," I said when she emerged in a black dress I'd never seen before. The price tag was probably still in her purse, along with the receipt she'd hide from me. She startled slightly, as if she'd forgotten I existed. "Thank you, it's just a work thing." "I know, I'm coming with you." The mascara wand in her hand froze halfway to her lashes. "What?" "The party. I thought I'd tag along, meet your colleagues. You're always talking about how wonderful they are." Dana's reflection in the mirror went pale beneath her foundation. "Harold, you hate office parties. You always say they're full of corporate nonsense and cheap wine." "Maybe I've changed my mind. Maybe I want to see what keeps my wife out until midnight 3 nights a week." She turned to face me, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Panic, maybe, or guilt. But it passed quickly, replaced by that practiced smile she wore like armor. "Of course, honey. I just thought you'd be bored." "Oh, I doubt that." The drive to the Midwest Logistics building was silent, except for the radio and Dana's nervous fidgeting. She kept checking her phone, probably warning Owen that her clueless husband was about to crash their party. The office occupied the 3rd floor of a glass building downtown, all modern furniture and motivational posters about synergy and team building, the kind of place that held mandatory fun sessions and called employees family while laying them off before Christmas. Owen Frazer was exactly what I'd expected. 52, silver at the temples, the kind of smile that belonged on a used car salesman. He wore his authority like an expensive cologne, heavy and obvious. "Harold," he boomed when Dana reluctantly introduced us. "Finally. Dana talks about you all the time." "I bet she does." His handshake was firm, competitive. The kind of man who turned everything into a pissing contest, including other men's wives. "Dana tells me you work at Hartwell Manufacturing," Owen continued. "Blue-collar work, very honest, very grounding." The condescension dripped from his voice like syrup. I smiled back, the kind of smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Someone's got to do the real work while you folks push papers around." Dana's hand found my arm, fingernails digging in slightly. Harold, Owen was just being honest, I finished. I appreciate honesty. It's rare these days. The party swirled around us, middle management types nursing cheap wine and complaining about quarterly reports. I watched Dana work the room, her hand occasionally brushing Owen's arm, their eyes meeting across conversations like they shared secrets, which of course they did. Your wife's quite the asset, Owen said, appearing beside me at the refreshment table. Very dedicated, always willing to go the extra mile. I've noticed, all those late nights, weekend conferences, she's very committed. Exactly, commitment. That's what separates the wheat from the chaff in this business. I poured myself a cup of coffee from the industrial dispenser, letting the silence stretch until Owen shifted uncomfortably. You know, Owen, I said finally, I've always believed that what goes around comes around. Karma, you might call it. Absolutely, hard work pays off. Oh, I wasn't talking about work. Before he could respond, Dana appeared at my elbow, face flushed from wine or nerves. Harold, we should probably head home soon, early morning tomorrow. Actually, I was just getting to know Owen here. We have so much in common. Dana's smile looked painful. Really? Oh, yes. We both appreciate commitment, dedication, the importance of... I paused, meeting Owen's eyes. Keeping your word. The conversation faded around us. A few nearby colleagues had stopped talking, sensing tension like animals before a storm. Owen cleared his throat. Well, Harold, it's been great meeting you. Dana's lucky to have such a... supportive husband? Supportive. That's one word for it. I set down my coffee cup and turned to my wife, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the industrial carpeting. Ready to go home, darling? Back to our life together? The drive home was arctic. Dana stared out the passenger window while I hummed along to classic rock, feeling lighter than I had in months. You were rude, she said finally. Was I? I thought I was being friendly, getting to know your boss, the one who calls our house at 10 p.m. about urgent HR matters. Those are legitimate work calls. I'm sure they are. Very urgent. Very intimate. Dana turned to look at me, and I saw the exact moment she realized I knew. Her face went through a series of expressions, surprise, fear, calculation, before settling on defiance. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Dana. I'm stating facts. You're having an affair with Owen Frazer. You've been planning to leave me. You think I'm too stupid to notice. We'd reached our driveway. I put the car in park, but left the engine running. Here's what you didn't count on, I continued, my voice steady as a metronome. I've been documenting everything. Phone calls, credit card receipts, hotel charges. Your cloud storage automatically syncs to our shared account. Did you know that? Every text message, every photo, every romantic little note about how clueless your husband is. Dana's face had gone white. Harold, I've got copies of everything. Dates, times, locations. That conference in Cincinnati last month. The Marriott has security cameras in the lobby. Funny thing about digital evidence, it's very hard to deny. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Copies of everything. Consider it my insurance policy. Dana stared at the envelope like it contained a live snake. What do you want? Right now, I want you to think very carefully about your next move, because Harold Vance might be a lot of things, but he's not nearly as clueless as you thought. I got out of the car and walked toward our house. My house, according to the deed, leaving Dana sitting in the driveway with her secrets exposed and her future suddenly uncertain. Tomorrow, the real fun would begin. The next morning, I woke up alone. Dana's side of the bed was cold, untouched. I found her in the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes, staring at her coffee like it held the answers to life's mysteries. Sleep well? I asked, pouring myself a cup. She didn't answer, just sat there looking like someone who'd spent the night calculating how badly she'd screwed up her life. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. We need to talk. Owen. I showed Dana the screen. Your boyfriend wants to chat. He's not my... She stopped, realizing there was no point in lying anymore. What's the plan here, Dana? Are you going to keep pretending this isn't happening, or are we going to deal with reality? She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. What do you want me to say? How about the truth? When did it start? Why? Was it worth destroying 23 years of marriage? Dana's laugh was bitter. 23 years? Harold, we've been roommates for the last 5. When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you looked at me like I was more than just the person who does your laundry? So, this is my fault? It's nobody's fault. We just grew apart. No, Dana. Growing apart is when couples stop talking about their day or disagree about vacation plans. Screwing your boss and planning to divorce me for money is something else entirely. I sat down across from her, close enough to see the guilt written across her face. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to end it with Owen. Today, you're going to transfer to a different department or find a new job. We're going to try counseling. And if I don't? I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I'm going to make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of woman you are, starting with Owen's wife. Dana's coffee cup hit the table with a sharp clink. You wouldn't. Try me. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. The Harold she'd married wouldn't have fought back. He would have accepted whatever scraps of affection she threw his way and been grateful for them, but that Harold was gone, buried under months of humiliation and lies. I need time to think, she said finally. You've got until tonight. Make your choice. I left her sitting there and drove to work, where I spent the day pretending to care about shipping schedules while my marriage imploded in slow motion. My phone rang around noon. Coach Bannerman from Murphy's boxing gym. Harry, you coming in today? Haven't seen you since Tuesday. I'd started boxing 6 months ago, telling Dana it was for fitness. Really, it was because I needed somewhere to hit things without getting arrested. Yeah, I'll be there. Might need to work the heavy bag extra hard today. Woman troubles? Something like that. Coach Bannerman had been running Murphy's for 30 years. He was 65, built like a fire hydrant, and had the kind of wisdom that came from getting punched in the face for a living. Bring your gear, he said. Sounds like you need to sweat out some poison. That evening, I found Dana in our bedroom, packing a suitcase. Running away? I asked. I'm staying at my sister's for a few days, to think. Convenient. Owen going to think with you? She spun around, eyes flashing. You know what, Harold? Yes. I'm in love with him. I have been for months. He makes me feel alive again, like I matter. When's the last time you made me feel that way? When's the last time you gave me the chance? This isn't about chances. This is about two people who fell out of love and were too stubborn to admit it. I watched her fold clothes into the suitcase, the good clothes, the ones she wore to impress other people. You're right, I said. We did fall out of love. But I wasn't the one who decided to handle it by screwing around behind your back. Dana zipped the suitcase with more force than necessary. I'm done apologizing, Harold. I'm done feeling guilty for wanting more than this nothing we've been living. Then go. But understand something. When you walk out that door, there's no coming back. No reconciliation, no second chances. You want Owen? You can have him. But you're not getting half of everything I've worked for just because you're bored with your marriage. She paused at the bedroom door. We'll see what my lawyer says about that. Yeah, I said. We will. After she left, I called Coach Bannerman. Harry, it's past 9. Gym's closed. I know. Can I come in anyway? I need to hit something before I do something stupid. Doors open. I'll be there in 20. Murphy's boxing gym occupied the basement of an old brick building downtown. It smelled like sweat, leather, and broken dreams. The kind of place where men went to work out their demons one punch at a time. Coach was waiting when I arrived, studying my face in the harsh fluorescent light. She left, I said. For good? Looks like it. He tossed me a pair of gloves. Then let's get to work. I spent 2 hours attacking the heavy bag like it owed me money. Coach held pads, called out combinations, and let me sweat out months of rage and humiliation. Feel better? He asked when I finally stopped breathing hard. Some? Good. Now we can talk strategy. I looked at him, confused. Strategy? Harry, I've been watching you for 6 months. You're not just here to get in shape. You're here because someone's been making your life hell, and you needed to learn how to fight back. He was right, of course. I'd started boxing because I felt powerless, like life was happening to me instead of being something I controlled. What kind of strategy? Coach grinned, and for a moment I saw the fighter he'd been 40 years ago. The kind that wins. But first, you need to understand something. Once you start fighting back, really fighting back, there's no going back to being the nice guy. You sure you're ready for that? I thought about Dana packing her bags, about Owen's condescending smile, about months of being treated like I was invisible in my own life. Yeah, I said, I'm ready. Good. Then here's lesson 1. You don't win fights by being fair. You win by being smarter, tougher, and more prepared than the other guy. Over the next hour, Coach laid out what he called the fundamentals of real-world combat. Not boxing, life. How to identify your opponent's weaknesses. How to control the narrative. How to hit where it hurts most. Your wife and her boss think they're playing chess, he said. But they're amateurs. They left evidence everywhere, got sloppy, underestimated you. That's their first mistake. What's their second? Thinking you're going to roll over and take it, are you? I looked around the gym, at the photos of champions, the worn equipment, the quotes about perseverance painted on the walls. No, I said, I'm not. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to downtown Millbrook. First stop, Peterson and Associates, the law firm that handled our wills. Margaret Peterson was 60, sharp as a blade, and had been practicing family law for 30 years. She listened to my story without interruption, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. You have documentation of the affair? She asked. I slid the manila envelope across her desk. Text messages, photos, credit card receipts, hotel records, everything. She flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising slightly. This is quite thorough, Harold, very thorough. I'm a detail-oriented person. Indeed, and what outcome are you looking for? I want to keep the house, my retirement accounts, and my dignity, in that order. Margaret smiled, the kind of smile that probably terrified opposing counsel. I think we can arrange that. Second stop, Millbrook Savings and Loan, where Dana and I had our joint accounts. I explained the situation to the branch manager, a thin man named Phillips, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I want to freeze all joint accounts pending divorce proceedings, I said. Sir, I understand your situation, but your wife has equal access to those funds. I can't just... Can you freeze them if there's evidence of financial misconduct? Phillips shifted uncomfortably. What kind of misconduct? I pulled out copies of Dana's credit card statements, highlighted in yellow. Hotel charges, expensive dinners, gifts, all purchased with our joint account while she was supposedly working late. Unauthorized use of marital funds for an extramarital affair. My lawyer says that constitutes financial infidelity. Philip studied the statements, probably calculating how much trouble this was going to cause him. I'll need to speak with our legal department, he said finally. You do that. In the meantime, I'll be opening a new account, individual, for my paychecks. By noon, Dana's access to our money was effectively cut off. Her credit cards would be declined, her automatic payments would bounce. She'd discover this around the time she tried to buy lunch with Owen. The thought made me smile. Third stop, Rhonda Frazer's house. Owen's wife lived in Maple Heights, the expensive part of town where the lawns were always perfect and the secrets were buried deep. She answered the door in yoga pants and a Northwestern sweatshirt, looking like every other suburban wife who'd married well and regretted it. Mrs. Frazer, my name is Harold Vance. I think we need to talk. Recognition flickered in her eyes. She'd heard my name before, probably in conversations she wasn't supposed to know about. Come in, she said quietly. Rhonda Frazer's kitchen was magazine perfect, all granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. She made coffee with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd perfected the art of keeping busy to avoid thinking. How long have you known? She asked. About 6 months. You? Longer. Owen's not as clever as he thinks he is. She sat across from me, cradling her coffee cup like a lifeline. I hired a private investigator last year, she continued. Owen's been cheating for years. Your wife is just the latest. The casual way she said it hit me like a punch to the gut. Dana thought she was special, thought Owen loved her. She was just another conquest. Why haven't you left him? I asked. Rhonda's laugh was bitter. Prenup. If I divorce him for adultery, I get the house and alimony, but I need proof that will hold up in court. I pulled out another manila envelope. I'd made copies of everything. Will this help? She opened it, scanning the contents. Her expression went from hopeful to satisfied to something approaching predatory. Oh yes, she said. This will help very much. We spent the next hour planning. Rhonda knew Owen's schedule, his habits, his weaknesses. I knew Dana's. Together we could destroy them both without breaking a single law. There's a company party next Friday, Rhonda said. Annual meeting, all the big clients. Owen always uses it to show off. Perfect. Time to give him something to really show off about. I drove home feeling better than I had in months. The house was empty. Dana was still at her sister's, probably planning her new life with Owen. Let her plan. I had plans of my own. My phone buzzed. Text from Dana. Harold, we need to talk. Can you meet me at Russo's tonight? 7 p.m. Russo's was the Italian place where we'd had our first date 24 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. I texted back, Sure, looking forward to it. And I was. Because tonight, Dana was going to learn that her clueless husband had been doing some planning of his own. Russo's hadn't changed much in 24 years. Same red-checkered tablecloths, same smell of garlic and oregano, same corner booth where Dana and I had sat on our first date. She was already there when I arrived, looking nervous and picking at a breadstick. "Thank you for coming," she said as I slid into the booth across from her. "Wouldn't miss it. How's your sister's couch?" Dana flinched. "Harold, I want to work this out. I made mistakes, but we can fix this." "Interesting timing. This wouldn't have anything to do with your credit cards being declined today, would it?" Her face went pale. "What did you do?" "Protected my assets. Funny thing about joint accounts. They require joint responsibility. Hard to claim you're a victim of an abusive marriage when you're spending our money on hotel rooms with your boss." The waiter approached, but Dana waved him away. "Smart move. This wasn't going to be a long dinner." "You can't just cut me off financially," she said. "I have bills, obligations." "So do I, like the mortgage on the house you abandoned, the car payments on the vehicle you're driving, the health insurance that covers your birth control." Dana's eyes flashed with anger. "You bastard!" "No, Dana. A bastard would have cleaned out the accounts and disappeared. I'm just making sure you can't fund your affair with my money." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that this isn't a game anymore. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences." "And if I end it with Owen? If I come home?" I studied her face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. All I saw was calculation, a woman trying to figure out which option would cost her less. "Do you love him?" I asked. The question caught her off guard. "What?" "Owen. Do you love him, or is he just a way out of a marriage you're bored with?" Dana was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "I thought I did, but Harold, he's not who I thought he was." "Meaning?" "He's married. He's got kids, a mortgage, obligations. He talks about leaving Rhonda, but there's always a reason to wait. Another month, another year. I'm starting to think he never intended to leave her at all." Bingo. Owen was playing Dana the same way he'd probably played a dozen other women. Promise them everything, deliver nothing, move on when they got too demanding. "So you want to come home because Owen turned out to be a liar?" "I want to come home because I realize I made a mistake. A huge mistake." I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo. Owen and a blonde woman I didn't recognize, taken yesterday outside a restaurant across town. "Recognize her?" I asked. Dana stared at the photo, her face crumbling. "That's Jennifer from accounting. She's married. She has kids. Apparently Owen has a type, married women who think they're special." The breadstick in Dana's hand crumbled to pieces. "How did you get this photo?" "I've been busy, Dana, learning all sorts of interesting things about your boyfriend." I put the phone away and leaned back in the booth. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to work tomorrow and pretend everything is normal. You're not going to warn Owen about what's coming. You're not going to try to protect him. What's coming? Justice, or karma. Call it whatever you want." Dana reached across the table, her hand covering mine. "Harold, please. I know I hurt you, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, take a vacation, start over." I looked down at her hand, the same hand that had been touching another man for months, and felt nothing but disgust. "No," I said, pulling away. "We can't. Some things can't be fixed, Dana. Some betrayals are permanent." "So what happens now?" "Now you get to find out what life looks like when you're not married to the clueless guy who pays for everything." I stood up, dropping a 20 on the table. "Dinner's on me. It's the last thing I'll ever buy you." The next morning, I called Margaret Peterson. "How are we doing on those papers?" I asked. "Divorce petition will be ready this afternoon. I've also prepared a restraining order regarding the marital assets. Your wife won't be able to access or dispose of anything without court approval." "And the other matter?" "The complaint to Midwest Logistics corporate office? That's ready too. Harassment, hostile work environment, misuse of company resources. Their HR department is going to have a field day." I'd spent Tuesday evening documenting every company policy Owen had violated during his affair with Dana, using company credit cards for personal dinners, conducting personal business on company time, creating a hostile work environment for employees who weren't sleeping with the boss. Corporate America might tolerate a lot of things, but liability exposure wasn't one of them. "When do we file everything?" "Friday afternoon, right before their annual company party. Maximum impact, minimum time for damage control." Friday couldn't come fast enough. Thursday evening, I was at Murphy's, working the speed bag, when my daughter Mickey called. "Dad, Mom called me. She says you two are having problems." Mickey was 22, a senior at State majoring in business. She'd inherited my practical nature and Dana's stubborn streak, a combination that made her formidable. "We're getting divorced, sweetheart." Silence on the other end. Then, because of Owen? I stopped hitting the bag. You know about Owen? Dad, I'm not blind. Mom's been acting weird for months. New clothes, new perfume, always checking her phone. Plus, she accidentally called me Owen last month when she was distracted. Smart kid. Smarter than her old man, apparently. How do you feel about it? I asked. Honestly, I'm pissed. Not about the divorce. You and Mom haven't been happy in years. I'm pissed that she cheated instead of just being honest. Your mother's going through something. Dad, stop. You don't have to defend her. She screwed up. Big time. I loved my daughter more in that moment than I ever had before. I need you to know that whatever happens between your mother and me, it doesn't change anything between us. I know, Dad, but I also need you to know that I'm on your side in this. Mom made her choice. After we hung up, I realized I wasn't alone in the gym. Coach was sitting on a bench near the ring, watching me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. Good kid, he said. The best. She's right, you know, about taking sides. In a war, neutrality is just another word for defeat. Is that what this is? A war? Coach stood up, joints creaking like old leather. Harry, your wife didn't just cheat on you. She humiliated you, made you a joke in your own town. That's not just betrayal, that's an act of aggression. He was right. For months, I'd been the subject of whispered conversations and pitying looks. Poor Harold doesn't know his wife is screwing around. Poor Harold, so trusting, so naive. So, what do I do about it? You win, completely, publicly, and permanently. You make sure everyone knows that Harold Vance isn't a victim. He's the guy who fought back. Friday afternoon arrived like Christmas morning. I took the day off work and spent it making final preparations. First, I drove to the process server's office and watched him load the divorce papers into his briefcase. Dana would be served at work, in front of her colleagues, at exactly 4 p.m. Second, I stopped by the Millbrook Gazette, our local newspaper. The editor, Jim Morrison, was an old high school friend who owed me a favor. You sure you want to do this, Harry? He asked, looking at the documents I'd brought him. Public record is public record, Jim. You're just reporting the news. Wife's not going to be happy. Wife's happiness stopped being my concern about 6 months ago. The story would run in Monday's edition. Local woman files for divorce, cites adultery. Complete with details from the court filings. Third, I went home and got dressed for the party. My best suit, the one I'd worn to Mickey's high school graduation. If I was going to make an entrance, I wanted to look the part. The Midwest Logistics annual party was held at the Millbrook Country Club, a sprawling complex that tried too hard to look prestigious. I arrived at 7:30, fashionably late, and made my way to the main ballroom. The party was in full swing, middle management types networking over cocktails and rubber chicken. I spotted Dana near the bar, wearing a dress I'd never seen before, laughing at something Owen was whispering in her ear. They looked happy, relaxed, like they'd gotten away with something. That was about to change. I made my way through the crowd, accepting handshakes and small talk from people who probably knew more about my marriage than I did. Finally, I reached the bar. Harold! Owen's voice boomed across the conversation. What a surprise. Dana said you weren't coming. Change of plans, I said, ordering a whiskey. Couldn't miss the party. Dana looked like she'd seen a ghost. Harold, what are you doing here? Celebrating. It's been quite a week. Before anyone could respond, a young man in a cheap suit approached our group. Excuse me, are you Dana Vance? Yes. He handed her a manila envelope. You've been served. The conversation around us faded like someone had turned off a radio. Dana stared at the envelope, her face cycling through confusion, realization, and horror. What is this? Owen asked. Divorce papers, I said helpfully. Filed this afternoon, citing adultery, financial misconduct, and irreconcilable differences. Dana ripped open the envelope, scanning the documents. Harold, you can't... Actually, I can. I did. It's done. Owen's face had gone red. Now wait just a minute. No, you wait. I turned to face him, and something in my expression made him take a step back. You want to know what's in those papers, Owen? Everything. Dates, times, locations, hotel receipts, text messages, photos. The crowd around us had grown larger, drawn by the drama like moths to a flame. I could see phones coming out, people recording what was probably going to be the most entertaining thing to happen in Millbrook all year. Harold, please, Dana whispered. Not here. Not like this. Why not here? This is where it started, isn't it? This is where you decided I was too stupid to notice what was happening right under my nose. I reached into my jacket and pulled out another envelope. Copies of everything I'd given my lawyer. Owen, I think your wife might be interested in seeing these, don't you? Owen's face went white. You wouldn't? I already did. Rhonda got her copies yesterday, along with contact information for your company's corporate HR department. That's when Owen made his first real mistake of the evening. Instead of walking away, instead of trying to diffuse the situation, he decided to get aggressive. You snake, he snarled, stepping toward me. You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening you, Owen. I'm destroying you. There's a difference. He took another step, close enough that I could smell the alcohol on his breath. You pathetic little man. Dana came to me because she was tired of being married to a loser. That's when I smiled. Really smiled, for the first time in months. Maybe, but at least I'm not about to be unemployed. Owen's face went blank. What? Corporate got a very detailed report about your conduct. Harassment, misuse of company resources, creating a hostile work environment. I'm betting you'll be cleaning out your desk by Monday. The crowd around us had gone completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop in that ballroom. Owen's hands clenched into fists. You're going to regret this. No, I said quietly. You are. That's when he swung at me. Owen Frazer had probably been in exactly 3 fights in his entire life, and I was betting he'd lost all of them. His punch was wild, telegraphed, the kind of haymaker you see in movies, but never in real fights. I'd been training at Murphy's for 6 months. I saw it coming from Tuesday. I slipped the punch, let it sail past my ear, and drove my right fist into his solar plexus. Owen doubled over, gasping like a fish out of water, and I followed up with an uppercut that straightened him up and sent him stumbling backward into the bar. The whole thing lasted maybe 3 seconds. Owen slumped against the bar, red liquid trickling from his nose, looking like someone who'd just discovered that actions have consequences. The crowd around us erupted in shocked murmurs and the clicking of phone cameras. Harold! Dana grabbed my arm. What have you done? Self-defense, I said calmly, straightening my tie. Everyone saw him throw the first punch. Security arrived. 2 young guys in cheap suits who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. The older one, a thin man with nervous eyes, approached cautiously. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Both of us, I hope. Can't have employees assaulting guests. Owen was still leaning against the bar, holding his nose and glaring at me with the kind of hatred usually reserved for people who cancel Christmas. This isn't over, he mumbled through fingers. Yes, I said. It is. I turned to Dana, who was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Enjoy the party, honey. Try not to spend too much on drinks. Your credit cards are still frozen. The walk to my car felt like a victory lap. Behind me, I could hear the party buzzing with excited conversation. By tomorrow, everyone in town would know that Harold Vance had finally fought back. My phone started ringing before I reached the parking lot. Coach Bannerman. Harry, you okay? Just heard from Murphy. Someone posted a video online. You laid out some corporate pretty boy? Something like that. Coach's laugh was pure satisfaction. How'd it feel? Like I should have done it months ago. Good. Now listen, you need to file a police report tonight. Get your version on record before they do. Already planned on it. And Harry? Stay away from bars and dark parking lots for a while. Men like Owen don't like being humiliated in public. They tend to hold grudges. The Millbrook police station was a squat brick building that smelled like coffee and disinfectant. The desk sergeant, a tired-looking woman named Patterson, took my statement with the bored efficiency of someone who'd heard it all before. So he threw the first punch? In front of about 50 witnesses. I'm sure half of them got it on video. And you hit him back in self-defense? I defended myself against an unprovoked attack. Yes. She made notes on her report, occasionally glancing up at my face. I didn't have a mark on me. Owen's punch hadn't even come close. Mr. Vance, can I ask you something off the record? Sure. This wouldn't have anything to do with your wife and Mr. Frazer, would it? I looked at her more carefully. Patterson was maybe 45, wearing a wedding ring, with the kind of tired eyes that came from dealing with domestic situations. What makes you ask that? Small town, people talk. Word is, your wife's been spending a lot of time with her boss. People talk about a lot of things, Sergeant. Doesn't make them true. She smiled slightly. No, it doesn't. But sometimes it does. After I finished the report, I drove home to find Dana's car in the driveway. The lights were on in the kitchen, and through the window I could see her pacing back and forth, phone pressed to her ear. I parked in the garage and took my time walking to the house. Let her sweat a little. Dana was off the phone when I entered the kitchen, but her face was flushed with anger and something that might have been panic. Harold, what have you done? I assume you're not talking about the punch. Owen had that coming for months. I'm talking about the corporate complaint, the financial accounts, the divorce papers. You've destroyed everything. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned against the counter. I've protected my interests. There's a difference. Owen's been suspended pending investigation. They're talking about firing him. Good. Actions have consequences. Dana slammed her hand on the kitchen table. This isn't just about Owen. I work there too. You think they're going to keep the woman who was sleeping with her boss? You've destroyed my career. You destroyed your career the moment you decided to screw your way to the top. That's not what this was about. No? Then what was it about, Dana? Love? Romance? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you traded 23 years of marriage for a promotion and some fancy dinners. She stared at me, and I saw the exact moment she realized I wasn't the same man she'd been married to. The Harold she knew would have taken this quietly, would have accepted whatever explanation she offered, would have tried to work things out. That Harold was gone. What do you want? She asked quietly. I want you out of my house, tonight. Harold, be reasonable. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. You should have thought about that before you decided to blow up our marriage. I have rights. Legal rights. Yes, you do. And my lawyer will be happy to explain them to you, along with your obligations and the consequences of your actions. I finished my water and set the glass in the sink. You've got 1 hour to pack whatever you need. After that, I'm changing the locks. You can't do that. Watch me. Dana followed me toward the stairs, her voice rising. Harold, this is insane. You can't just throw me out of my own house. I stopped and turned to face her. This isn't your house, Dana. It's my house. My name is on the deed. I've been paying the mortgage for 23 years. You've been paying for hotel rooms with Owen. I'm calling my lawyer. Good. Tell him I said hello. I went upstairs and ran a hot shower, letting the water wash away the stress and adrenaline of the evening. Through the bathroom door, I could hear Dana on the phone, her voice alternating between pleading and demanding. When I came out, she was gone. Her car was missing from the driveway, and the house felt different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll pay for what you did tonight. I showed the message to Sergeant Patterson when I called the police station. That could be interpreted as a threat, she said. You want to file a report? Just document it for now. If it escalates, I'll press charges. Mr. Vance, be careful. Men like Owen Frazer don't handle humiliation well, and desperate people do stupid things. Saturday morning, I woke up alone in my own house for the first time in 23 years. It should have felt lonely, but instead, it felt like freedom. I made coffee, read the newspaper, and enjoyed the silence. No passive-aggressive comments about my breakfast choices. No sighing when I left dishes in the sink. No walking on eggshells around someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Around 10, my phone rang. Mickey. Dad, are you okay? I saw the video. What video? Someone posted it on social media. You punching Mom's boss. It's got like 10,000 views already. Great. I was internet famous for all the wrong reasons. I'm fine, sweetheart. He threw the first punch. I know. I watched it like 20 times. You dropped him with one hit. There was pride in her voice, and I realized my daughter was genuinely impressed that her old man could still throw a punch. Violence isn't the answer, Mickey. Maybe not, but sometimes it's the question, and the answer is yes. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good. How's your mother? Freaking out. She called me at midnight crying about how you've ruined her life. I told her she ruined her own life when she decided to cheat. You don't have to take sides in this. Dad, I already have. Mom made her choice. Now she gets to live with it. After we hung up, I spent the day cleaning house, literally and figuratively. I boxed up Dana's remaining belongings, changed the locks, and called the bank to remove her from all accounts. By evening, Dana Vance was officially erased from my daily life. Sunday was quiet until my doorbell rang around noon. I opened it to find Rhonda Frazer standing on my porch, holding a bottle of wine and wearing a smile that could cut glass. Harold, I thought you might want to celebrate. I invited her in, curious about what Owen's wife had to say about Friday night's festivities. I assume you heard about the party, I said. Heard about it? Honey, I watched it. Someone live-streamed the whole thing on Facebook. She opened the wine, an expensive bottle that probably cost more than I made in a day, and poured 2 glasses. To justice, she said, raising her glass. To justice. We drank, and I waited for her to explain why she was really here. Owen came home Friday night looking like he'd been hit by a truck, she said. Red nose, bruised ego, and a suspension letter from corporate. I'm sorry for the trouble this has caused you. Rhonda laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Sorry? Harold, you've given me the best weekend I've had in years. Owen's been cheating on me for 5 years. 5 years of humiliation, of pretending I didn't know, of playing the perfect corporate wife while he screwed everything in a skirt. She pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages. These are from Owen's phone. He's been begging Dana to run away with him, promising to leave me, start fresh somewhere else. The poor fool actually thinks she's going to choose him over financial security. I read the messages, each one more desperate than the last. Owen was in full panic mode, realizing that his comfortable life was crumbling around him. What did Dana say? See for yourself. She scrolled to Dana's responses. Cold, practical, focused entirely on damage control. No declarations of love, no promises to stand by him. Just a woman calculating her options and finding them all unacceptable. She's going to throw him under the bus, I said. Already has. Dana's lawyer contacted Owen yesterday. She's claiming harassment, coercion, abuse of power, trying to paint herself as the victim. I shouldn't have been surprised, but somehow I was. Even after everything, part of me had expected Dana to show some loyalty to the man she'd risked everything for. What happens now? Rhonda's smile turned predatory. Now Owen discovers what it's like to lose everything. His job, his reputation, his marriage, his house, everything. And you? I get a very generous divorce settlement and the satisfaction of watching karma work its magic. She finished her wine and stood to leave. At the door, she turned back to me. Harold, thank you for having the courage to fight back. A lot of men would have just taken it. I'm not a lot of men. No, she said. You're not. After she left, I sat in my living room, thinking about the past week. 7 days ago, I'd been the joke of Millbrook, the clueless husband who didn't know his wife was cheating. Tonight, I was the man who'd fought back and won. It felt good. Better than good. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. You think you've won? This is just the beginning? I deleted the message without responding. Let Owen send all the threats he wanted. I wasn't the same man he'd been dealing with before. That man was gone, and he wasn't coming back. Monday morning brought 3 things. A front-page story in the Millbrook Gazette about my divorce filing, a call from Margaret Peterson, and a visit from 2 very unhappy people. Harold, Margaret said over the phone, we need to talk. Dana's lawyer filed a countersuit this morning. What kind of countersuit? Domestic violence, mental cruelty, financial abuse. She's claiming you've been controlling and manipulative throughout the marriage, and that the affair was her way of escaping an abusive situation. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. That's ridiculous. Of course it is. But it's also smart. She's trying to flip the narrative, make herself the victim. If it works, she could get alimony, half the assets, maybe more. What do? We fight, and we use every piece of evidence we have to show what really happened. Can you be in my office at 2? After hanging up, I made coffee and tried to process this latest development. Dana was claiming I was abusive. 23 years of marriage, and now I was suddenly a monster who'd driven her into another man's arms. The doorbell rang at 9:30. Through the peephole, I saw Dana and a man I didn't recognize. Tall, expensive suit, briefcase. Her lawyer, probably. I opened the door but left the chain on. What do you want, Dana? We need to talk. This is my attorney, Richard Blackwood. Talk to my lawyer. I'm sure you have her number. Blackwood stepped forward, all professional authority and practiced intimidation. Mr. Vance, we're here to offer you a settlement, a generous one. I'm listening. You withdraw the divorce petition and the corporate complaint against Mr. Frazer. In return, Mrs. Vance agrees to end her relationship and attend marriage counseling. I looked at Dana, who was staring at the ground like it held the secrets of the universe. And if I don't? Then we proceed with the countersuit. Domestic abuse, financial control, mental cruelty. By the time we're done, you'll be lucky to keep your job, much less your house. I closed the door, undid the chain, and opened it wide. Come in. Let's discuss this properly. They followed me into the living room, Blackwood looking around like he was cataloging assets for seizure. Nice house, he said. Shame to lose it over pride. Who says I'm losing anything? Dana finally looked up. Harold, please. We can fix this. Go back to the way things were. The way things were? You mean with you screwing your boss and planning to divorce me for money? Blackwood held up a hand. Mr. Vance, let's keep this civil. Civil? Your client has been lying to me for months, stealing from our joint accounts, and now she's claiming I'm abusive. Exactly which part of that should I be civil about? I walked to my desk and pulled out a thick folder, copies of everything I'd given Margaret Peterson. Before we go any further, I said, you should probably see what we're working with. I handed Blackwood the folder and watched his expression change as he flipped through the contents. Text messages, hotel receipts, photos, bank statements, a complete record of Dana's affair, documented with the kind of detail that made denial impossible. This is quite thorough, he said finally. I'm a thorough person. Dana, remember when you said I was obsessive about details? Turns out that's useful sometimes. Dana had gone pale. Harold, where did you get all this? Your phone automatically syncs to our shared cloud account. Has for years. Every text, every photo, every email. I've been reading your love letters to Owen for months. Blackwood was still studying the documents. Mrs. Vance, you didn't mention the extent of the documentation. I didn't know, she whispered. Well, now you do. So here's my counteroffer, I said. Dana signs over all claims to the house, the retirement accounts, and my pension. She takes her car, her personal belongings, and whatever's in her individual checking account. In return, I don't pursue criminal charges for theft or fraud. Criminal charges? Blackwood looked up sharply. Using marital funds to finance an extramarital affair, forging my signature on credit card applications, identity theft. I'm sure the district attorney could find something that sticks. Dana was crying now, quiet tears that she probably thought would make me feel guilty. They didn't. Harold, please. I made mistakes, but I don't deserve this. You're right, I said. You deserve worse, but I'm feeling generous. Blackwood closed the folder and set it on the coffee table. Mr. Vance, this is a very aggressive position. It's a fair position. Dana wanted out of the marriage. I'm giving her what she wanted. And if we refuse? I smiled, the kind of smile that made people nervous. Then we go to court, in front of a judge, with all of this evidence, plus testimony from Owen's wife, who's very interested in seeing justice done, plus the corporate investigation, which is going to be public record, plus the criminal charges I'll file for theft and fraud. I leaned back in my chair, completely relaxed. Tell me, Mr. Blackwood, how do you think that's going to play with a jury? Sympathetic wife driven to adultery by abusive husband, or cheating wife caught red-handed with her boss? Blackwood and Dana exchanged looks. I could practically see him calculating billable hours against the probability of success. We'll need time to consider your offer, he said. You've got until Friday. After that, the offer expires, and we do this the hard way. After they left, I called Margaret Peterson and filled her in on the conversation. That was risky, she said, threatening criminal charges. Was it a threat if I'm actually going to do it? You're serious about pressing charges? Absolutely serious. Dana stole from me, lied to me, and now she's trying to destroy my reputation to cover her tracks. I'm done being the nice guy. Good. Nice guys finish last in divorce court. That afternoon, I drove to Murphy's for what had become my daily therapy session. Coach was waiting with gloves and an attitude. Heard you had visitors this morning, he said. News travels fast. Small town. Your neighbor Mrs. Chen saw the lawyer's car, figured something was up. I spent an hour working the heavy bag, imagining it was every problem I couldn't punch in real life. When I finished, Coach handed me a towel and a bottle of water. You know they're going to fight dirty, he said. Let them. I've got nothing to hide. Everyone's got something to hide, Harry. Question is whether they can find it. He was right, of course. Dana and her lawyer would be looking for anything they could use against me, old arguments, financial irregularities, anything that could support their abuse narrative. What do you suggest? Same thing I told you before. Control the narrative. Don't let them define you. How do I do that? Coach grinned. You go on offense. That evening I made a series of phone calls. First to Jim Morrison at the Millbrook Gazette. Jim, remember that favor you owe me? Harry, I already ran your story. We're even. Not quite. I need you to run another story about corporate corruption at Midwest Logistics. What kind of corruption? Harassment, misuse of company funds, hostile work environment. I've got documentation. Jim was quiet for a moment. This about your wife and her boss? This is about a pattern of behavior that's been going on for years. Owen Frazer has been using his position to coerce female employees into private relationships. Dana's just the latest victim. It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Owen had been cheating for years, according to Rhonda. Some of those women had probably been employees. I'll need sources, documents, more than just your word. I can get you sources. Second call, Rhonda Frazer. Rhonda, I need a favor. How many of Owen's affairs were with employees? At least 3 that I know of. Why? I'm building a case for harassment, pattern of behavior. Can you get me names? Honey, I can do better than that. I can get you testimony. These women have been waiting years for someone to speak up. Third call, Margaret Peterson. Margaret, I want to file a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Harassment, hostile work environment. Harold, you don't work at Midwest Logistics. No, but my wife does, and she's been the victim of systematic harassment by her supervisor. That's creative. That's justice. By Thursday, the pressure was mounting from all sides. The EEOC had opened an investigation into Midwest Logistics. The Millbrook Gazette was preparing a story about corporate harassment. 3 former female employees had come forward with stories about Owen's inappropriate behavior. Dana called me that evening, sobbing. Harold, what have you done? They fired me today. Fired me. They said I was part of a pattern of misconduct. I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry? You destroyed my career. How am I supposed to support myself? That's not my problem anymore, Dana. You made your choices. This is insane. You've turned everyone against me. My friends won't talk to me, my family thinks I'm a monster, and now I can't even get a job. Actions have consequences. I'm ruined. My life is over. No, I said calmly. Your old life is over. Time to build a new one. I hung up and poured myself a whiskey. Tomorrow was Friday, decision day. Dana and her lawyer would either accept my terms or we'd go to war. Either way, I was ready. Friday morning, Blackwood called at exactly 9 a.m. Mr. Vance, we accept your terms. Smart choice. My client has one request. She'd like to speak with you privately before we finalize everything. Why? Closure, I think. 23 years of marriage deserves a proper ending. I agreed to meet Dana at Russo's that evening, the same place where this had all started to unravel. Seemed appropriate. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in our old booth, looking like someone who'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. The confident woman who'd been planning to leave me for her boss was gone, replaced by someone who looked broken and defeated. Thank you for coming, she said. I slid into the booth across from her. You've got 15 minutes. Harold, I need you to know that I never meant for it to happen this way. Which part? The affair, the lies, or trying to claim I was abusive? Dana flinched. All of it. I was confused, unhappy. I made terrible decisions. Yes, you did. But did you have to destroy everything? My job, my reputation, my future? I looked at her, really looked at her, and tried to find some trace of the woman I'd fallen in love with 24 years ago. She was gone, buried under years of resentment and poor choices. Dana, you destroyed everything the moment you decided to have an affair. I just made sure everyone knew about it. So this is revenge? This is consequences. There's a difference. She was crying now. Quiet tears that she wiped away with a napkin. What happens to me now? That's up to you. You're smart, educated, experienced. You'll figure it out. Will you ever forgive me? I considered the question seriously. Maybe. Someday. But I'll never forget. Dana reached across the table, her hand covering mine. I loved you once. Really loved you. I know, I loved you too. But love isn't enough when there's no trust, no respect, no honesty. I pulled my hand away and stood up. Goodbye, Dana. Harold, wait. I turned back to her one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of it. I'm truly sorry. I know, I said. So am I. I walked out of Russo's and into the cool evening air, feeling like I was walking out of one life and into another. Behind me, Dana sat alone in the booth where we'd had our first date, crying over the wreckage of our marriage. My phone buzzed. Text from Mickey. Dad, heard Mom sign the papers. You okay? I texted back. Better than okay. I'm free. And for the first time in months, I meant it. 6 months later, I was sitting in my kitchen, reading the morning paper and drinking coffee when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a woman I didn't recognize, 30s, professional, holding a clipboard. Mr. Vance, I'm Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News. I was wondering if you'd be willing to comment on the Owen Frazer sentencing. I opened the door. Sentencing? He was convicted yesterday on federal charges of embezzlement and fraud. Apparently, he'd been stealing from the company for years, using the money to fund his affairs. He got 5 years in federal prison. I thought about Owen, arrogant, entitled Owen, sitting in a prison cell, finally paying for his crimes. No comment, I said. But thanks for letting me know. After she left, I called Rhonda Frazer. Did you hear? She asked before I could speak. Just now, how do you feel? Vindicated, satisfied, rich. She laughed. The divorce settlement was very generous. Turns out judges don't like men who embezzle money to pay for hotel rooms. And Dana? Last I heard, she was working at a call center in Springfield. Minimum wage, no benefits. Quite a come down from her HR coordinator days. I felt a brief stab of sympathy for my ex-wife, but it passed quickly. Dana had made her choices, and now she was living with them. That evening, I was at Murphy's, working the speed bag, when Coach approached with a newspaper clipping. Thought you'd want to see this, he said. It was a small item from the business section. Midwest Logistics settles harassment lawsuit for $2.3 million. Your ex-wife get any of that? Coach asked. Doubt it. She signed away her right to sue when she took the divorce settlement. Tough break. She made her choice. Coach nodded approvingly. You did good, Harry. Fought back, won clean, didn't let them make you the victim. Feels good to win. Feels better to deserve it. I finished my workout and drove home to my quiet house, my peaceful life, my clean conscience. No more lies, no more betrayal, no more walking on eggshells around someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Just me, my choices, and the consequences I could live with. Harold Vance, the clueless husband who'd been the joke of Millbrook, was gone forever. In his place was someone stronger, smarter, and absolutely unwilling to be anyone's victim ever again. And that felt like the best revenge of all.